Hey guys, now I spend a lot of time trying to reassure people that switching to electric isn't necessarily as difficult, expensive, or as scary as you might think. And I reckon that most people agree, but there's one very tough crowd that aren't having any of it. Yeah, you know who you are, the petrol heads. Basically, this guy. Can electrically powered cars ever trigger the same kind of emotional reaction? It's a challenge, right? EVs for petrol heads, that's just just moronic maybe. Here's the thing though, I think there are EVs out there that I reckon petrol heads can appreciate just as much as they do their ICE cars. So here are a few you might want to put on your shopping list. First up, the Porsche Taycan, and it's a brother from another mother, the Audi e-tron GT. I'm lumping these two together because underneath they're essentially the same car, running near identical batteries and motors and technology. And they share a lot in character, even if the looks and the vibe they're going for appeal to different people. Whichever badge is on the nose, the heart and the soul of the car is basically Porsche, which is obviously no bad thing. And in Porsche's way, the Taycan incorporates a whole ton of technical insight from motorsport, specifically the 919 hybrid that won Le Mans 3 times over. It then blends all of that with all the knowledge it's accumulated over decades of making amazing road cars, and the result is that it drives like a Porsche. Okay, so it's quite heavy, but so's everything these days. A Lotus Emira is 1.5 tons, but it's low, the battery position means it corners as flat as a pancake, and the performance is off the charts, especially in the 761 horsepower Turbo S version. Even the cheapest rear-wheel drive version though, can throw shapes. You can balance it on the throttle just like a proper petrol sports car. Okay, so far so predictable. How about a curveball? The Mazda MX30. Bit of a controversial one, but Mazda always does things a bit differently, and straight away, their decision to go with a small battery to make it feel light, 1,750 kilograms, and nimble and more like an MX-5, I think pays off. Okay, so the range is pitiful, but Mazda has an answer. It's called the MX30 eSkyActiv REV. Yeah, I know, terrible name, but it's got a rotary petrol engine to act as an onboard generator. Yes, rotary engines are back in Mazdas. What year is it? Anyway, this kind of makes sense because the 830cc rotary is smaller and lighter and smoother than a regular ICE engine and just purrs away, charging the battery for when you want to go further than the standard car can go. And it means Mazda can keep things cheaper, lighter, and also provide better handling. Right, now for something completely different. We've had electric SUVs in the past, electric supercars, electric 4x4s even. What about an electric hot hatch? Not seen many of those in the past, have we? Until the Cupra Born. Now, this builds on the legacy of the ICE-powered Cupras like the Leon, which have often been better than the Golf GTIs they were based on. And it's the same here. No disrespect, or not too much disrespect, to the VW ID3. It's a really important car, but the Born is just cooler. And there are little driver-focused details that you don't get in the ID3, like a more powerful motor driving the back wheels, and an ESC Sport mode that lets you play with the angles a little bit in the corners. Now, one of the team here at Auto Trader even took one on a track day recently, and he said he had a great time actually going out there and doing proper hot hatch stuff, but in an EV. We'll have to wait and see if VW adds a twin-motor GTX model to the ID3 range like it's done with the SUV versions, or if Renault Sport get a chance to play with the new electric Megane. But for now, if you want an electric hot hatch, the Born has a healthy lead. Although, if you're listening, Cupra, can we have a bit more power next time? Yeah? Cheers. All right. Now, so much for the old school heroes. What about the new school? You can't ignore Tesla. Look, a lot of people talk about the ludicrous acceleration and supercar beating 0 to 60 times and 1,000 horsepower plaid versions with yokes instead of steering wheels, but it's only so long before that novelty wears off. And for petrolhead purists, that focus on straight line bragging rights is all a bit tedious. But I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Teslas also drive really nicely. It's probably helped by the fact that one of the engineers who used to work on Teslas was a senior guy on the Aston Martin 177 program, literally one of the finest petrol-powered cars ever before moving to Tesla and then to Rimac. Elon might not be the best at HR, but credit to Tesla, they've hired the right people to do the right stuff at the right time. My favorite is probably the Model 3 Performance. It feels pretty small on the road thanks to that signature low dash. It rides better than the SUVs, and the balance of power and handling is pretty much spot on. It's perhaps not something you want to be playing with on the public road, but the drift mode is actually really well sorted as well. And you can actually hold the slide and balance it on the throttle like you might in a high-performance ICE car. Really good. My next choice follows on from the Tesla Model 3 on the basis I actually compared them back to back on the same day, video up above, and it put up a very impressive showing. It's the Polestar 2. Now, Polestar is known as an EV brand today, but its roots are more in conventional high-performance ICE cars, running Volvo's race team and also running some really special limited edition road cars like the exquisite 500 horsepower S60 concept a few years ago, which then became the Polestar engineered cars that you could actually buy. Suffice to say, the team at Polestar are proper petrol heads and they're now working on EVs. The Polestar 2 not only looks cool and goes fast, it's got up to 476 horsepower and some really trick bits aimed at car geeks, Brembo brakes, and a specific performance pack mapping for the throttle and Öhlins suspension that you can adjust by hand. Polestar even published 5 different combinations of settings ranging from comfort to track depending on how you want your car to handle, and if you don't want to do it yourself, you can take it to a service point and they'll do it for you. Okay, new brands like Tesla and Polestar are all very well, but what if you count yourself as a real petrol head and want something a bit more traditional? Maserati might have you covered with the new Gran Turismo. It's got a choice of power outputs from a turbocharged V6 petrol engine. The spiciest of these, the Trofeo, has 550 horsepower and it goes as well as it looks. But they also have an electric version called the Folgore. This thing has 3 motors, 761 horsepower, and 1,350 Newton meters of torque. Yes, it's 2.2 tons. It weighs a whole caterer more than the Trofeo version, but it will hit 0 to 62 7/10 faster in just 2.7 seconds, and 0 to 124 miles an hour is even more impressive, with the Folgore doing it in just 8.8 seconds against the 11.4 for the Trofeo. Just imagine you got those looks and all the magic and mystique of the Maserati badge and its associations with Fangio and Stirling Moss back in the day, and one of the most powerful and sophisticated electric powertrains in the business, plus some decent handling as well, if I'm not mistaken. If that's not the perfect petrol head EV, then I don't know what is. Maserati, you got my number, right? Call me. Now, to another electric twist on petrol head fun. Who remembers the Ford Focus RS? Love that car. Anyway, one of the guys involved in building that car was a guy called Tyrone Johnson, who is apparently one of the scariest vehicle engineers you'll ever meet. If you want to know what makes Tyrone angry and the veins on his forehead start pulsing, I'll tell you, understeer. Tyrone hates understeer. If Tyrone's in a room and understeer walks in, understeer ain't walking out, let's put it that way. Which is why he helped Ford to build the world's first ever oversteering hot hatch. What does this have to do with EVs? Well, like petrol head drivers, petrol head engineers are making the transition to electric as well and having to adapt their tastes and skills to this brave new world. Which is how Tyrone now finds himself at Genesis, where he's been involved with the development of the all-electric GV60 based on the already quite impressive Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 5. But how to make the Genesis stand out from its sister cars? Yeah, enter Tyrone and his signature trick, drift mode. Now, some of you might consider this a bit gimmicky, and apparently it isn't something people normally use on the school run or possibly ever. Don't know about that, but it doesn't matter. It's a tell. It's a little nod from Tyrone and petrolhead engineers to petrolhead drivers that they've got your back. And within the Genesis GV60 lurks just a little taste of the Ford Focus RS. And if you hate understeer, this is probably the EV for you. Or you could have a BMW i4. This is another case of an EV being developed by petrolhead engineers schooled in the traditions of proper rear-wheel drive cars like BMWs have always been, and it shows. If you're not looking for an electric car and you just want a BMW, the i4 is exactly that. It just happens to have batteries and motors rather than a classic 6-cylinder petrol engine. And to be honest, it looks so similar to the 4 Series Gran Turismo it's based on that I think you could go from a lease on that car and straight into an i4 and maybe not even realize you've gone electric. And I mean that as a compliment. Everything you know from your previous BMWs is in the same place. The seating position feels familiar. The view out the window looks the same. The steering wheel has that familiar weight to it. And most of all, you get that unmistakable BMW cornering stance with that decisive push from the rear wheels that helps you turn into a corner. That's what's always made BMWs fun, and the i4 is no different. You could argue it's basically an electric M3 that's cheaper to run. Now, moving on, and although it's been in the market quite a while now, the Jaguar I-Pace is still, I reckon, one of the best driving electric cars out there. Even though it's electric and quite heavy, Jaguars have always had above average ride comfort and steering compared to its rivals. And the I-Pace successfully carries that over into the electric age. Just like a traditional Jaguar, there's the combination of a smooth ride and steering that has just the right balance of weight and response to put a smile on your face, whether you're cruising up the motorway or you're really going for it. One of the team here at Auto Trader even took an I-Pace to the Nürburgring. And you know what? Even there, it more than held its own. It has that clever brake regen system, which meant that over 3 laps, it could recover a whole additional lap's worth of battery charge in the braking zones. An F-Type SVR V8 would probably burn through a tank of fuel in the same distance, so not that bad. And that sense of flow at the wheel made the I-Pace a lot of fun as well. It just doesn't have the noise, but you can't have everything. Or can you? Noise is, of course, one of the key things that petrol heads say that EVs lack in comparison with the cars that they know and love. But our bar has stepped up with its twist on the new Fiat 500e, as our very own Alex Le Guy had found out recently. The Abarth 500e has been specifically engineered to make the same noise as the petrol version, but using speakers, or if you prefer, it can also sound like a rock guitar for some reason. Not sure I agree with the whole fake noise thing, but it's there if you like it. And the car should be fun as well, with 155 horsepower and theoretically nippy handling. We're gonna have to wait and see exactly how fun it is, but I've got high hopes. But what about OG petrol heads out there, my knob gang manual gearbox lovers, and those people that can never see an electric car delivering the same kind of satisfaction? Well, you could always see about future-proofing that stone cold ice classic by getting it electrified. It's controversial, I know, but turning an old petrol car into an EV can lead to quite a fun car. I didn't agree with that sentiment at first, but then I had to go with a Porsche 356 converted to electric power by the British boffins Electrogenic, complete with, and I still can't get my head around this, a manual gearbox, the original manual gearbox, and a clutch pedal. I know, the whir of an electric motor can never quite compare with the sounds and sensations and even the smells of a petrol-powered one, but trust me, this is the next best thing. And the challenge of driving it smoothly is just as rewarding as any ice-powered classic. Lexus seem to agree as well, and a group of their engineers have even built a test mule electric car with a proper manual gearbox mounted in it. So you've got the mechanical sensation of shifting, but it's not actually connected to the motor. So it's realistic. You can even stall it, apparently. And there's even a rumor that this could make it into the next Lexus LFA. We'll see. So there you go, proof, I hope, that there are electric cars out there that more traditional petrol heads can enjoy, maybe even love, and reason to be cheerful for the future as well. Not everyone gets it right now when it comes to appealing to enthusiasts, but I think there's hope. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Give a shout out to any other petrol head friendly EVs that I might have missed out, and don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.